Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the podcast today, we have Gary Gumbleton. Gary, welcome.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Thanks for having me.
Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so like you said, my name's Gary Gumbleton. Yes, that is a real name. I am the founder and creative director of Capital Content, and we are a digital agency. We focus on social first storytelling, right? We use video content as the main medium, but what kind of sets us apart is that we're a mixture of like sales and marketing people. We're not just a bunch of millennials that know how to do a cool time lapse. We actually know how to achieve objectives using video content specifically. Video content being the biggest thing at the moment, specifically in a fingers crossed post-COVID era. We want to be able to build trust with our consumer or with our customer. Because we can't see everybody face to face, video is the next best thing to show someone's face on. We really kind of help businesses grow using content. That's our main thing.
Well, part of what you, or a lot of what you focus on is storytelling. So, I mean, it's a great segue into starting with your story. Are you happy to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So, I mean, I am English, but I have a weird, you might have noticed, twang in my voice because I spent 10 years in NZ. And what happened was, at the age of 25, I set myself what's called a BHAG, right? This is a big corporate fluffy term called a big, hairy, audacious goal. And at 25, I was at the bottom of the ladder. Right, I was working for Vodafone. I left school at 16, no qualifications. I was just doing sales. I was basically selling mobile phones on a shop floor. And I set this BHAG to be a leader in a creative organization within 10 years. A few months flew by, and then all of a sudden I was being relocated to NZ as a business account manager for Vodafone. I had an amazing time, right? Spent 10 years over there. I blinked. I got married, and in the last couple of years of being in NZ, I ran an agency, and what had happened over those 10 years is that every side step or every role change that I made was towards the goal of being a leader in a creative organization. I, behind the scenes, I felt that I was a creative, right? I did poster design for mates. I played in bands, but then by trade I was a salesman because that's all I could really do with no qualifications. At the end of the 10 years I was in NZ, I'd moved so many times that I managed to become a sales director for a creative agency. So I'd really got my foot into that industry from a sales perspective. And then when I moved back to NZ, when I came back to the UK, after telling a few people kind of what I'd been doing over the last couple of years in the agency, what we quickly realised was that NZ was like 4 or 5 years ahead of the UK in terms of content creation. And I think the reason that is because they're kind of like a microeconomy, right? They're a small country, and there's only so many dollars to be spent in terms of agencies. And I think the agencies needed to be really innovative, really push boundaries around creating content so they could capture the minimum amount of dollars that were being spent. So when I was telling friends, they were like, oh mate, this is amazing. Like, you're doing live, you're doing Facebook Live. I was doing Facebook Live like 10, 12 years ago. Now it's the commonplace, right? So that's where kind of Capital Content came from, was that, I realized that my calling, I helped businesses grow using content. That was what I did. And it's funny talking about that Photoshop thing. There's like a meme floating around when they say every agency owner can credit their career to getting a hooky copy of Photoshop. Absolutely. The only reason I run an agency is because I managed to download a free copy of Photoshop off of LimeWire like 15, 20 years ago, right?
Well, that's I often find that at least successful businesses anyway, they have an element of sales. So I definitely want to talk to you about the storytelling side of it. But has your sales experience helped you in the creation of your business?
Do you know what? Yes and no, right? Yes, in the sense that my sales strategy stuff has absolutely helped, right? There's ways that we've done certain things to help grow the business, or at least when I'm pitching to client, or the way that I'm approaching clients, maybe absolutely that's helped. But also not doing or knowing not to do that has also helped in growing the business. And what I mean by that is specifically for agencies, and I think actually specifically for a lot of industries, is that outbound sales really doesn't work, right? The cold calling, cold emailing, you've got to call or email someone at the right time to be able to start that conversation on a good foot. And it's really rare that you'll get someone that you'll ring the reception, get through to the gatekeeper or the key holder, all those awful sales terms, that you've got them at the right time. So what we realized after a very long period of having a salesperson in our organization, a dedicated salesperson, was that it just doesn't work, right? So, and this is kind of like drinking our own champagne. What we realized was that having a personal brand, having me as the personal brand, hashtag the Gary Show, generated incoming leads 100 times more than cold calling people and all the tactics that we ever put in. So yeah, having the sales experience did help us grow the business, but it was almost knowing what not to do in terms of sales. And I think the marketing, the outbound marketing generated inbound leads far more than outbound sales generating inbound leads.
So you came back to the UK, and at what point do you decide to start your own business, and what's the catalyst for that?
I mean, that's a great question. I worked for a business for 3 months. And actually, it was very difficult for me to find a job when I first moved back. I don't know why, because I was relatively well qualified in terms of experience, maybe not qualifications as such. I was like 35-ish, struggling to get a job in digital. But I think because I'd been in an agency in NZ, and the scale of that agency being quite small, because obviously the economy is quite small, didn't help me get the jobs that I wanted. And I worked for this digital publication company for 3 months, and then I wasn't being that successful. I was a salesperson at quite low level for that business, and I wasn't being successful. And what I realized to myself, again, I have another one of these like work-based epiphanies, right? Where I was working 10, 12 hours a day for these cats, and I wasn't necessarily enjoying it. And because you spend the majority of your time at work and with work people, and you weren't enjoying it, it really hit my mental health. It was it wasn't a fun time. And I thought, no, I'm 35 going on 40. I need to be enjoying my life. I'm almost halfway through, right? I had a great time in NZ. I need to carry on having a great time. I'm just not going to come back to the UK and start at the bottom of the ladder again. So, like I mentioned, when having all of these conversations, I quickly realized, okay, cool. What I need to do is start my own business, but I need to have the strategy in mind that I'm going to be a big major agency by the time I'm 50. So I did the whole we strategy, right? Where every email that I wrote, every social post that I put out when I first started, it was always we do this and we do that, not I do this and I do that. So I moved away from that freelancer mentality and moved more towards kind of that, perception is reality. If they perceived me as being a big agency, because I use the we instead of I, then you'll be able to acquire accounts quicker, hopefully. And really, like I said, the catalyst, I approached some friends to see if they wanted to invest, and that allowed me to have seed funding to go and start the business. But I wasn't greedy. All I did was I obviously still couldn't price the business because it wasn't even operating 5 hours, right? What I managed to do was work out what my outgoings were for the next 3 months, ask for that amount of money, return that in shares, and then I only had 3 months to make it work, right? It was me sitting in my living room in my dressing gown, trying to avoid watching Netflix, eating toast, hustling for my first job. And it was a scary time, I'll be honest. It got to kind of squeaky bum time. But I had this moment, right, where I had my first job. It was a friend of a friend, and I had this first job, and it was just, I had a camera and a laptop. That's all I had, and a desk and a moleskin notepad. And I had this moment where I'd done my first shoot. I sent off my first invoice, and I was on the train, and like the sun was setting. I had my first, I had that beer on the train. It was about 5 o'clock-ish, whatever it was. And I had that moment where, mate, I've done this. I've come up with an idea and I've generated revenue from it. This is. I had that warm kind of fuzzy feeling, on the train on the way home. And since then, it's just gone big guns, right? And a lot of it's karma. A lot of our success is karma. But I think the majority of our success as a business is again, the hashtag Gary show, the personal brand side that we've really started to focus on over the last 12 months, because we had so much time. Like I mentioned before the call, we were crying, or there's the we strategy again. I was crying in the shower because our work had completely switched off.
Well, there is something that I wanted to ask you about, which is I consider a quote from, it was either your profile or a message that you sent over, which is, I consider content creation to be my calling. Would you like to expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I'm Steve Jobs or Mark Anthony, right? It is a quote, but it's really from a presentation. And what I see the last kind of 10, 15 years, I see it into three different sections, right? My jobs, my career, and my calling. I actually have a book on Amazon called Jobs, Career, Calling. But the jobs were kind of like estate agent, factory worker, kind of all on the same social ladder, right? And then I had this work-based epiphany where I wanted to be a leading creative organization, and my career was sales, large corporate sales. When I worked for Vodafone and Frontside, which was the agency. But throughout that time, my calling was to help businesses grow. And what I see is, like, being paid for it is a fortunate byproduct. It sounds fake. It sounds like a lie, but it generally is. And I think, I really do enjoy seeing success from the content that we create. And that really stems back down to, like I mentioned, one, storytelling, because it's absolutely key. You need to have that emotive response. And two, we are a mixture of sales and marketing adults. We understand the business objectives, or, the goals that businesses need to achieve, and we can create content to help achieve that because we've been through all of that, right? And the other thing is also kind of like psychologically, we focus on the two operating systems that the brain has, the emotional and the rational. The emotional makes that initial decision, amygdala hijack, and then the second operating system kind of comes in afterwards, the rational side, the analytical, am I being tricked here kind of thing. And the content that we create touches on both of those brain's operating systems, the emotive side and the rational side, to help convert eyeballs into sales. So definitely what I found is that I love creating content. I see things that aren't there, and then we're able to create those things to help achieve the business objectives.
Well, I feel like I've skipped a step a little bit, because you mentioned something quite interesting, which was about the 3 month, the 3 months to make it work in your story.
Yeah.
And when you've got that deadline, it is kind of, I don't know, makes it more intense somehow. So how did those 3 months go? And have you got any details on, significant moments in that time frame?
Yeah, I mean, it was a scary 3 months. I mean, I hustled really hard. I hate the word hustle, but I did, right? Because it was just me. I wasn't wrapped in that cotton wool of working for another business, paying my pension and giving me a monthly wage every month. It was a scary time. And, I had to speak to the CFO, the wife, and make sure that she was okay with, allowing me to go in and doing this. And there's an element of risk and an element of trust, right? And there's one kind of thing one piece of advice that my old line manager gave to me when I worked at Frontside, the agency, was that he would always say that the difference between doers and dreamers is action. So what I did was I just took action. I just went and did it. And just like a CRM, you get the same out as you put in when creating your own business. And those 3 months, yeah, I mean, it all started, and this is probably a recommendation for anybody that is looking to start their own business or get out of the job that they don't like and go from that unemployed to self-employed because they've been made redundant due to COVID, is to hit that little black book. Whether you're on a mate's WhatsApp group or people that you've just known over the years, the first thing you've got to do, because you've already built the relationships, is approach the people that you know and that you can sell your product to. Because whether you can sell your product to them, they will. If you can't, they will know who you can sell to after that. So the little black book, and I do this with my staff now as well. When we employ someone, we don't necessarily say, or during the interview process, how many of your mates going to want content. What we mean is, after a few months of you understanding the product and knowing the value and actually loving the product, being the brand, cut me, I bleed blue kind of thing, we say, that can you now start approaching some of your mates, because they might have parents, they might have friends that need video content, and we'll do like a friends and family discount, but it's more to kind of leverage the relationships that you've already created before you kind of started to sell the product. I might have gone off on a tangent a bit there, but yeah, the first 3 months was scary, and you definitely need to approach your little black book straight off the bat, because they're the relationships you've already built, right?
Yeah, so is that what you would advise other people do if they were not necessarily in the same business, but if they had 3 months also to make a go of it in business, is that what you'd encourage them to do? And is there anything else that you would think?
I would definitely get them to do a bit of pre-roll. So rather than just go, 3 months, I'm now going to be starting to talking to my friends, I'll probably do a bit of, competitor research, or actually going to find out to see whether there is an interest. Let's just take a plumber, for example. You're not going to give up your job and then become a plumber on day one and then start asking your friends. I would say in the lead up to you quitting your job, outside of work hours, obviously, you will want to see if there's an interest, see if you can build up a pipeline of leads, so on day one you can then start the sales hustle, right? So I would definitely say your little black book is your first approach. For me, because I played in bands and I'm relatively I'm an extrovert. Well, I'm an extrovert and an introvert, right? I get my strength from within, but I also get my strength from people around me. And it's easy for me to be on shows like this, or to do public speaking, or to, generally a large or noisy personal brand. It's easy for me to. Some people might have trouble with that, but I think people do need to focus on who they are within the business, because, I'll take an example. Let's just say Steve Jobs. If he went to work for IBM, people would move to IBM or buy products for IBM because they buy into him as the personal brand. Just because he was with Apple doesn't necessarily mean people buy with Apple. They just believe in the same thread and the same values and the person that he is. If, like I said, if he went to Microsoft, God forbid, people would then start to buy from Microsoft. I'm generalizing. It's an awful, example using Steve Jobs and Microsoft. I'm better than that, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know that. So before we move on from the 3 month period, what would you say? Is there a point in your business where you think, okay, I don't need to worry so much anymore about a impending time limit? Like, at what point do you feel like you're a bit more comfortable in your business life?
Never. It's a travelator, right? It's a running machine. It's just constant. And I think the issues that we as entrepreneurs / business owners come across is that we wear a million hats, right? I'm HR, I'm finance. I'm a small business, right? So I'm also, content creator. I'm the brand manager. I'm everything, all at once. And there is never a point, unless you have got 5 years worth of revenue in the bank. Even then, you should be worrying about, why am I not investing this cash? What am I doing wrong? An absolute minimum, you've got to have 3 months worth of bills to be paid in the bank. And if you don't have that money, you need to do something about it. But there's never a point when I'm not thinking about the business. Even when I go on annual leave, emails will still come through. I can't afford to not in a monetary sense. From a personal brand perspective, I can't afford not to respond to those emails. And I think even when I'm sleeping, I'm still working, right? We went through a couple of bad periods, right, with bad hires or technical issues and whatnot. And I'd go to bed, I'd lie down, and in my head, I would start writing tomorrow's emails. And that's bad enough, right? Start writing. I'm in no control over writing these emails. If I had a laptop on me, I would actually write them. But in my head, I'm writing these emails. And then I'd get responses from these emails that I've written in my head, and then I'd start arguing, and I'm like, mate, I should be asleep. I should be sleeping now, but I'm still working. So there's never a point that you're not working when you're a business owner / entrepreneur. But I think I'm not trying to rubbish it. It's great when the good things happen, but no one sees the bad things, right? No one sees you crying in the shower, because I don't post that on Instagram. Although I do talk about it. A lot of people don't talk about it. I do talk about the mental health and the struggles that people go through, but it's just all about sharing, right? I think if you have the right people around you and you share that kind of stuff, then you're okay. It's no different than your normal life, but it's a lonely time as a business owner. And I think yeah, don't forget about the lonely business owner at Christmas, right?
It's good to highlight it, and I 100% agree with you. Do you have any plans or what should we say strategies on how you go about mitigating against those things?
Or mitigating against the mental health side.
Well, about the fact that at some point you can't go to bed and you're thinking about emails for tomorrow, and I mean there's a mental
Yeah.
health aspect to it, obviously, but to a certain degree you can engineer your life so that you don't have those things anymore. So, what do you have any plans around that?
It's funny. It's a bit of a cliche phrase, but I'm a bit of a control freak, right? I have trouble letting go, especially when it's your business and you've started by yourself as the individual. I have trouble letting go. If I brought someone in to kind of, be a videographer, from day one, I was a videographer, and letting go, it is really tough to let go. But the art of management, the art of growth, is delegation. And although I haven't put anything in place at the moment, there is always this thought to say, actually, there needs to be a time where the business can carry on without me being there. But right now, that's I'm not acting on that strategy, only because the business is me, and because even from a tactical perspective, the fonts that we use on our website and our presentations and stuff is my handwriting. We created my handwriting to be our headline one font, and the tone of voice in any of our social posts, it's me. It's my tone of voice that we've created as the business, and the personal brand #TheGaryShow generates the most leads. So at the moment, if we really want to grow, if we really want to hit a major target and have 50 people and take on some major corporate brands, then I do need to be 24/7. And I'm okay with that. It's just about being self-aware. It's being aware that this is okay, that this is happening, that you're allowing it to happen, and that the people around you support you, whether that be your staff or the family at home or even friends. They need to be receptive to your issues if you want to say stuff out loud, because there'll be stuff that I can't say to my staff because you need to save face, and there's stuff that I can't say to my wife because I don't want her to worry about as well, whereas I can talk to my friends. So you do need to be able to share the issues that you have, because not everything is all fluffy and rosy when you're running a business. But at the moment, I don't act on strategies to try and reduce the amount of workload that I have, only because that little blue square fundamentally is me.
Well, you mentioned about the major brands. When I was looking on the website, you have had some quite cool clients, and firstly, I'm interested to know more about that, just in general, because it's just interesting for anyone who's a small business person who has some quite good, well-known clients, if you like. And then secondly, I know that brands don't necessarily like the sales first approach. And you've mentioned your story first, or storytelling first. And I wanted to ask you about what's your strategy or your thinking on creating content where, as you say, you do need to get some form of result from it, meaning sales or inquiries, but at the same time, you don't want it to be cringy. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, so you're right about getting a result. Firstly, just on those corporate brands, right? And you'll see a lot of agencies out there, they have all of these logos on their website, and it's what we call a vanity card, or the unspoken word is a vanity card, and it can be the slightest, or the tiny straw that you are clinging onto the fact that you've worked with that brand. So don't always believe, although you can genuinely believe that the logos we have on our website that we've created content for, don't believe the hype, right? Because a lot of agencies out there might have made a Canva post. They might have made a Canva PNG for a friend who works for Pepsi, and all of a sudden you can put Pepsi on your website, right? So they're vanity cards. Really, it's about what they could do for you. It's great to say, yeah, we did work for Deloitte or we did work for the NHS, but it's really about the return or what you can actually do for them as in the industry, right? And then to your other question about actually getting a return on these objectives, actually getting a return from the content and it not being cringy, is you got to find out what the objective is, right? You can't just go out and make content for the sake of making content, right? Everyone goes, oh, you got, video. Yeah, absolutely, man. Spend thousands with me making videos. But what you need to do is make sure that every video that you create somehow leads towards an objective that you need to achieve. And the way that we do it here at Capco is kind of like the TV network strategy, right? So you would picture yourself, the business or the personal brand or the organization, whatever, as a TV network across the top. So let's say I'm Thomas.tv, right? And then that TV network, just like the BBC, they have different channels, right? They have BBC One, BBC Two, and BBC News. And each one of those channels has different audiences, right? They have different demographics. And then they also have different programming. Now, from a business perspective, you would have kind of like raise brand awareness, sell more product, and lead generation. They are therefore then your channels of content, and you would have specific series of content in those channels. So let's take, for example, lead gen, right? We want to show, from a lead gen perspective, how easy it is to work with capital content. So we have a series of FAQs. So there's, within the series of FAQs, we have episodes, and one episode might be how to pay an invoice, right? So we've created a 30-second video on how to pay an invoice with capital content. That video is part of a series of FAQs, which sits under the channel of how to of lead generation, how easy it is to work with us. So absolutely, go out and create as many videos as you want, but go up a level from the episode perspective in the series, like a theme of content, FAQs, for example, but then make sure that series of content then relates to a business objective. And then, every video that you create is achieving an objective, or is going towards achieving an objective.
I think touched on something or highlighted something which is very important, which is you should have an outcome for every, well, not every, but a lot of the content that you produce needs some form of outcome. And I actually really like the using new media for frequently asked questions, because it's so easy to just list a load of questions with a load of text. But it reminds me of just doing the bare minimum for a frequently asked questions section. But when you've got someone like you creating content, it's just that much more, I don't know if impressive is the right word, but it's certainly, I would say,
absolutely
more impressive anyway.
Yeah, it divides you from the competition, right? And I think this is another quote from when I worked at Vodafone, full of quotes. I hate motivational quotes, but here's another one. The only way that you can guarantee success is if you operate in a market that doesn't exist. The only way you can guarantee success is if you operate in a market that doesn't exist. So if you can create a product that operates in a market that doesn't have any competitors, you have guaranteed success. So, like you said, with the FAQs, if they're written in text, why not create video content so you're different from everybody else and therefore operate in a space where no one else is operating,
So regarding your personal brand, you've touched on how you're using it, but how would you encourage other people to use a personal brand with their video content?
I mean, this is a great question for 2021, right? And I mean, firstly, yes, I would encourage people to create a personal brand, only because of this COVID era that we're going through, right? There was a massive unemployment surge, and loads of people flooded LinkedIn with, "Hey, I need a job," and 9 times out of 10, that post saying "I need a job" was probably their first post. It's probably the first time they've ever posted on LinkedIn, and they would have found that they got very little engagement. There was no relationships built. They're not going to be able to get a job as quick as somebody else who maybe have a stronger personal brand. I would definitely start thinking about, even if you are happy in your job right now, it's kind of like the digital version of dress for the job that you want, not for the job that you have, where you are slowly raising your personal brand on LinkedIn using video content as an example, for when you need something, for when you need to increase your own network or get another job. You need to have, raise awareness. So when you do lose your job, you can post out and you've already built a relationship. People are already emotively connected to you because they've seen you as a personal brand. And a couple of tips around how to maintain your personal brand is that, and there's a guy called Ash Jones from Great Influence, and he talks about being able to talk forever on a subject, right? You need to pick 3 topics that you can talk forever about. And that just gives you the ability to carry on creating content forever and a day. for me, it's about marketing or video content specifically, business ownership / entrepreneurialism, and diabetes. And I pick the two business ones and a personal one because it humanizes me as a person, right? I'm kind of split between two personas, like the GC and Gemma Collins. I'm like Gary Gumbleton and hashtag the Gary Show, you know. And I think the marketing or video content and entrepreneurialism or business ownership, that I can talk about forever. The diabetes is a new thing for me. I got diagnosed with it in March last year at the start of the pandemic, but it's something that I can talk about that not only humanizes me, but I want to share my experience and my journey over the last 12, 18 months and whatnot. So that is a big tip when creating content, is have a topic that you can talk about forever. And I call this the good hair day strategy. If you make a rubbish video on Monday morning, stop making video. Don't make a video for the rest of that day. Don't worry about it. Start again on Tuesday. If you make a banging video on Monday, make another 20, right? Because you're having a good hair day. Make 20 videos. You don't have to post them all on day one. You make 20 videos, post one every week for the next 20 weeks, right? There's 6 months worth of content that you've created probably in a couple of hours on a Monday. Or, for example, like we're doing here, we've got a podcast and we're doing it over a video call. What you can do is create 20 little one-liner sound bites. Some of these tips and tricks that I'm dropping, you can create those as little 30-second snippets. We call them Skittles, social cut-down thought leadership. You can use those one every week for the next 20 weeks. Or that's even if you just did 4, you got one every week for the next 4 weeks, make it a month-long campaign for this single episode, right? So it's about finding 3 topics that you can talk about forever and batch creation using that good hair day.
It's a great piece of information for anyone there. And I think it's particularly, I love the point about you're creating a personal brand, not necessarily because you need something now, but potentially in the future, because everyone's going to need something at some stage.
It's the short and the long-term strategy at the same time, right?
Have you got anything to add regarding with a mobile phone? So maybe not everyone's got a great video camera, but everyone's got a mobile phone within reason.
Yeah, man. Everyone's got a 4K camera in their pocket right now. Top 3 tips when creating video content with your phone. 1, difference between good video and great video is audio. Make sure you're using a lapel mic or microphone, whatever it might be, even if it's just like the wired Apple headset with a microphone. That's super key, right? Lighting. Make sure the light is in front of you and not behind you. The amount of people that get that wrong. And I think the last one, we'll do a bit of something different. Buy yourself a teddy bear. Sounds weird, right? But if it's just you by yourself, right? You want to use the rear-facing camera, because 9 times out of 10, your rear-facing camera is better quality. What you can't do is position the rear-facing camera because you can't see the screen. What you do is you get a teddy bear, place it where you think you're sitting, and then frame that teddy bear correctly using your mobile phone. Then put the teddy bear to one side. You can keep him in shot if you want, but then it's all framed nicely. Whilst not having to keep going back and forth or re-recording. So get yourself a mic, put the light in front of you, and get your favorite teddy bear, chuck him on the chair.
That is brilliant. I love that. Just coming back to your story for a moment, because I think that's enough meaty content. I think if people were to use those principles that you shared, I think that's enough in terms of quality content. But regarding your story, your business story, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that you've had, and how did you overcome them?
That is a massive question. I mean, there's loads of challenges that we've had, and I've kind of mentioned this before around mental health and being able to share it. Like that's a big thing. But I think hiring is super key. Right, I don't think it's a throwaway thing. I just need to get staff in. One, in this post-pandemic era, you're going to get thousands of applications for any job that you put out, and I've had bad hires in the past over the past 4 years, and it's obviously very difficult to get rid of people. And not that you want to get rid of people, you actually want to nurture them and make them better. But the challenges that we've had is keeping good talent. Right, we've had some great people come into the business, and because we're a small business, I feel they felt that it's not been the best scenario for them. They could go and work or do much bigger things for a bigger corporate, and then they get headhunted and taken away and work for another business. And the challenge that we have as a business is that the cost of bringing on an employee, both mentally and financially, is really tough. Right, it's a difficult thing to go through because you have to have onboarding. You've got to go through 4 weeks of interviews. You've got to find the right person, and then you can't get rid of them if something goes wrong or if they're not the right cut. And then when they leave, it can all turn sour. The problem, the problem that first arises is me letting go of a chunk of the business for someone else to manage, and then when you don't, when it doesn't work out, when that employee is not that great, or it is a bad hire as such, you then, you feel like you've let yourself down. You've mucked up a bit, and it's difficult to come back emotionally. And really, what you need to, when people bang on about this from a personal perspective, get rid of the toxic people in your life. And I think you need to somehow, manage the toxic people in a business as well. And if you're a small business and you own that business, it can be really tough. So it's a matter of sharing with people and seeing what their opinions are, because there are thousands of people out there in the same boat. So if you can, pull on your peers, be a part of an industry peer group, express your concerns, and they will help you through that period. But I had troubles, with the couple of bad hires that we had, because they've both been friends as well. And it was, emotionally, it was really tough. And I joke about crying in the shower, but absolutely I did, like 100%, because it was me. I felt that they were letting down rather than the business, So it was a tough time, but we got through it, and we got some great people in the business right now, and we can only now look forward to growth. It was such a tough time over the past 12 months, what with the pandemic and that it's just nothing but growth. And we've got the best kind of version of us out of Capital Content right now, and that makes me feel a lot better. My mental health is a lot stronger. I'm not having argumentative emails at 3 a.m. in my head. So it's a good step forward for us at the moment. Yeah.
Well, coming back to that particular principle, presumably you've learned a lot from, because there's an ongoing thing where I'm noticing with pretty much everyone, and that is that when you get things wrong, you learn a lot more than when you get things right. So what would you say that you do differently now as a result of getting the wrong hire that you can now apply going forward?
I think for me, it's understanding that it's okay to fail. Right? It's like you mentioned, it's just a matter of what you do after that failure and how you kind of pick yourself back up again. But from a hire perspective, I would say let's not worry about CVs. The CV can be a complete lie. It's a 2D text ones and zeros version of who someone is, and it's one big sales pitch. I'd much rather see someone or put them through a project, a short test of some sort, rather than it start with the CV, and almost, question them about what they want to see from a growth perspective. Where do they want to be in a couple of years' time, and can I help that? Because really what I think people forget about is that when you're going for a job, it's a two-way thing. It's not me picking somebody else. It's also that someone else actually picking us. That's the opportunity that these guys are in. I think definitely drop the CV, but have that, the emotive thought about growth or that person's growth and whether the business can help them grow. Because as a byproduct, they'll do the work that you've asked them to do. But if you can help them, if you have the goal of helping them grow, then everyone starts to, bleed that blue. I say blue because that's the colour of our brand, right? But that's fundamentally what you want, is you want them to live and breathe the values. So if you can help them grow into that person, then, like I said, the fortunate byproduct is them actually doing the work that you've asked them to do.
What's an example of a test that you've now put people through?
Oh, mate, I would, actually one of them we did was we asked them to write a post, like a social media post. And what we wanted to do was say, write this post for Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn. Right. And a lot of people just kind of, rewrote the post maybe with different emojis or whatever it might be, or just no emojis at all. Right. And it was what we wanted to see was the thought process around who the audience was It's that empathetic marketing that we try and work towards to see what can you see from other people's perspective. Who is the audience? Because you don't create video content for yourself. You don't create video content for your product. You create it for your audience. So we asked them to rewrite this post to be able to focus on the 3 different audiences that you get on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, because they are 3 different types of people, 3 different stakeholders. And that's what we wanted to focus on, was not how good they are at spelling or, whether they got the right emoji, was that the wording and the thought process on why they worded that post right, depending, I wanted them to say, well, it's because the audience was different. It was less about them writing the post. So it's a social media test, right? That seems so 21st century to test someone on social media. I also obviously stalk their social media before they come as well.
It's a good test. And it's an interesting, I do think lots and lots of people struggle with hiring, and I have also experienced some difficulty in that particular area. So I feel your pain. Regarding a little bit more of a positive note, what are some of your biggest wins within your business?
A big win, or some of my biggest wins, I think generally growth. Right, I don't want to say, we won this client, we won that client, because that's just generally, a byproduct of, doing a good job, right? But I think, it's more, there are some moments, and I say this to my staff all the time, right? It's someone talking about you when you're not in the room. That is what I see as success, right? That's some of the high points where I get an email out of the blue from someone saying, XYZ said that you made some really good content for them. I'd also like to make content for you. And it's like someone, without me nudging them, sending them an email, raising my personal brand, whatever it is, has spoken about me and the business in a good way to somebody else. That is what I deem as success. Like I said, the fortunate byproduct is generating revenue off the back of that. But I love people talking about, I have that moment. 4 years ago, I came up with this idea out of thin air to create an agency, and 4 years later we're generating revenue from it and people are talking about us, and that's what I deem as success, is people talking positively about you when you're not in the room.
Interesting. So there is an interesting dynamic around what types of posts that people put out, and it's some people think that you should be very high quality. So, and this comes back to the personal brand stuff. And I think you put out, very high quality content. And some people think that the more real it is, the more scrappy it is. It's almost more authentic. Have you got any takes on that?
Yes, I think you need to have a mixture. I think you definitely need some DIY content, right? People buy from people and they want to see behind the logo, all those lovely phrases, but they want to see the real you, right? So yeah, absolutely. Use that mobile phone. We obviously we're in a unique position where we can create some really cinematic content internally to use as thought leadership content, but you don't need to. Like I said, everyone has a 4K camera in their pocket. I think it's not necessarily about the quality, like whether it's 4K or whatever. It's the value, right? It's the, what are you giving back? What are you generating? What are you supporting? How are you looking after your audience? Is what's super key when creating content. It doesn't need to be super sharp. It doesn't need to be great. It needs to be an element of mid to high level production if you're using your mobile phone. One perfect tip: don't shoot it in the car. Like car-based thought leadership videos, please don't do it. It might be good lighting, but it's just oversaturated. But I think it doesn't need to be 4K, great audio. You just need to be giving value back to your business. Like today, I posted a video over LinkedIn, and it was mid-level production, right? But it was a sales tip around exec engagement, around, if you have a relationship as a marketing manager level, has a relationship with someone else and a prospect at marketing manager level, then you need to engage your founder or your CEO with their founder and their CEO. So if that market manager happens to go to a different business, you still have another relationship there, right? And that is a tip, that is a sales tip, and that is a value given me, knowing my audience is market managers and business owners, that I'm giving value back to them. And like I said, the video could be relatively poor production, right? But the value in that video to my audience far outweighs what the production level looks like.
It's where your focus is and where your emphasis is. It comes back to what you were talking about in relation to the hiring, which is, are you thinking about the audience?
Absolutely. It's all about, you don't create content for yourself. You create, BBC don't make Attenborough shows because Attenborough likes going away and looking at 100-year-old turtles. It's because we like looking at 100-year-old turtles, right? So you make content for your audience.
Is there anything that you feel that would be valuable to mention that we haven't talked about today?
I think focusing on a personal brand. I banged on about it enough, but even if you don't want anything right now, you will need something in the future, and personal brand, although it's kind of like the buzzword for 2021, it's been happening for years, and the people that are successful have a strong personal brand. And think, if you are an employee within a business, think about what your MD's personal brand is, and whether that is detrimental to that business. I think people sometimes forget, because I have my own podcast, right? And I wanted to get this MD of a nutritional food business, right? A meal replacement business. And I wanted him to be on my podcast. So I messaged him and said, hey, look, I know you're really busy. I know you're a major MD of a massive company. So excuse me for the cold message, but I'd really like you to be on my podcast. It will only take you 20 minutes. It can be a Zoom call. I'd love you to be a part of it. Blank me. Never messaged me. Left me on red. And that was unfortunate, because I used that product. And now I feel, against that product now, because the MD just blanked me. He could have said, I'm sorry, mate. You're too small fry for me. Thanks, but no thanks. That would have been fine. I would totally have gone, yeah, I totally agree, mate. But to leave me on red, I now feel angst towards the MD, and therefore the brand off the back of that. So I think if there are employees of a business out there, think about what your managing directors or CEO's personal brand is like, and whether that is detrimental to their business, because people overlook that.
Very good point. And regarding your business, would you share what your current goals are?
I have loads of goals, right? In fact, I went away on a bit of a retreat, basically an Airbnb, for 48 hours, right? Where I sat down with a brand new bit of paper, like leak-proof, glossy A3 paper, like it was beautiful, a whole brand new pack of Sharpies, and I basically just wrote down everything that I wanted to achieve, spidergrams and lists and all that kind of stuff, all different colors. Like, it was lovely. I probably got a bit carried away. My wife was like, why are you going to an Airbnb by yourself? I was like, well, we've got a 3-month-old baby. Of course I want to go and sit in an Airbnb by myself. But what came out of it was 15 different goals, which led to a 1-year, 5-year and 10-year kind of sections, right? And there are a whole bunch, but really the key thing was the 50-year-old mark. I'm 40 now, and the key goals were, or the key 10-year goals were at 50, obviously, maths. The first one was having 50 staff at 50 years old, and the other one was retiring at 50. So they're my two goals, but they are obviously BHAGs, right? And then what you do is everything, the 1 and 5-year goals that I need to achieve, lead towards those two, 50 people at 50 years old and retiring at 50. Each of those other goals that I can't remember off the top of my head go towards achieving those two big BHAGs. So that will obviously grow. It's a bit like it's like the coach of the All Blacks when he wrote his autobiography like 15 odd years ago now. He said, rather than try and improve the business or improve the organization by 100%, you want to improve 100 things by 1% each, and then that business grows exponentially.
Great goals. There's one thing which I would like to touch on before I let you go, and that is, if someone is, let's say they've got no objection to anything you're saying, and they recognize the need for a personal brand, but it's almost like, I've never done anything like this before. I don't feel like I'm good on camera. I don't know what to say. What would you say to them?
I would say go out and do it, right? Just make a video. No one needs to see it. You're not going to run out of tape, right? We're in a digital age now. You've got enough storage in your phone, right? Unless it's full up with baby photos like my phone is. You need to just go out and do it. And then if they wanted to, they can send the video to me, or they'll send it to their friends, and I'll critique it, because one thing that I try and tell everybody when we're interviewing on any type of video, whether it's themselves or a massive corporate, is that your perception of you is different to others' perception of you. You might think you look fat. You might think you've got a funny old voice. You might think you've got nothing to say. But there are the people that around you don't think like that, right? The others' perception of you is different from your perception of you. So just go out and do it. Share the video with close friends. And actually, a major tip is, if you do create your first video, and you do find something that you got to say, when you post it out on LinkedIn, say, "Hey everybody, this is my first video. Please go easy on me." Oh mate, the amount of positive comments that you're going to get on that video is huge. It'll be your most engaged video if you say, "This is my first video," because I see it all the time on my LinkedIn feed. So that's a huge tip: is tell people it's your first video, even if it's not. Right, but still tell people it's your first video, because you'll get nothing but positive responses. You know, I think that LinkedIn specifically is the most positive social network. Yeah, let's not forget it's a social network, right? But you think Twitter, that's an absolute trash fire. Facebook and Insta, it's easy to hide behind the profile picture. So there's a lot of keyboard warriors, a lot of trolls out there. Whereas LinkedIn, I think, because it's so detrimental to your own career, there's like 1% trolls. You know, there might be the odd Facebook police or weird creepos that are trying to hit on girls, but it generally 99% of the time, it's a positive platform, right? Yeah,
I've seen a lot of encouragement to people who say, can you go easy on me? So
yeah, man. Yeah, and people, you get like 20, 30, 40 comments of all positive stuff, right?
Yeah, and I've also heard about the fact that it's when you post good news, you get much more engagement on LinkedIn. So
absolutely.
I really thank you very much for all the content you provided today, or the value, I should say. I think you've been great, and I think you've given a lot of value. Have you got any closing thoughts?
Apart from going to capitalcontent.co/content101, actually that is basically kind of like a formal training session of everything that I've just gone through, right? So if you're focusing on your personal brand, it's totally free. It's a whole bunch of training videos and a training course that you can go through. And people are more than welcome to drop me a line on LinkedIn, whatever it is. I will help anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter if you want to spend 20 quid or nothing or £1,000. It doesn't matter. I just want to help people grow. So if anybody has any questions at all, just drop me a line.
So, I mean, that's my last question, which is, where is the best place for people to find you?
I think it's linkedin.com/Gumbleton. I think is my personal URL. Capitalcontent.co is all of the others. So capitalcontent.co, well, Instagram /capitalcontent.co, Facebook / all of that stuff. So they're all capitalcontent.co. And it's funny, they always say get a domain name or get a business name that you don't have to spell out. It's like, yeah, absolutely, capital content. But the .co, man, I have to say so many times, not .co.uk, just .co. But I specifically went for .co because it sounds more innovative, right? And also capitalcontent.co.uk was like 20 grand. So rather than like the £2.99 from GoDaddy.
So like people think that you're pausing. They're waiting for the next part of it.
Yeah. Sorry, you spelled it wrong. Yeah.
I think it's a cool domain. Gary Gumbleton, thank you very much.
Thomas, thank you very much for having me.